2011 wastewater treatment plant upgrade that we're working on right now, and that will require a payment of about $55,000 a year, $54,000 a year, that again is presently not funded by any means that you have. So I worked through all of these costs. I put a little bit of money aside to cover forfeitures and people who don't pay their taxes, and I get to the point where there's a listing of the total expenses that are due in the very darkest column there, and they will range from last year's total of about $332,000 up through 2016 of about $450,000. When we get to the next column, the portion in the middle there, I did a little bit of calculation that talks about how the city of Rushford Village would pay their share, and their portion of the debt for the upgrade of the treatment plant is about $6,400 a year. Of course, they would pay the operation costs attributable to their share of operating the plant, but not any share of the costs that would be related back to the project last year, for instance. So their costs will increase, and I've shown that their rate of increase will go up around about 19% next year, and then 38% or so the year after that. So their cost for wastewater treatment will go up too, and we need to meet with them and talk about that. And that's one of the outcomes that I'd like to see from tonight's meeting, is that you direct me to start that process off and meet with the village. We get to the side of the ledger then that deals with what incomes have been, and I look at the one that says projected user charge revenue right here in the green column. As we mentioned last year, that was about $260,000 is what you brought in, and it was about $54,000 short of what the real difference is between income versus expenditure. Your audit report includes things like depreciation and fund transfers and insurance payments that kind of mask a little bit what the real cost of this deficit is. But as of today, your last year's shortfall was $54,000, or $53,553, and that would be required to bring that into balance a 16% increase in your sewer rate, just to get to the point where you would be even with what your income was, or your expenditures were last year. As I mentioned, there's a couple of bond issues coming on, and in the middle column there, the one that's projected sewer rate increase, those are the kind of increases that you would have to make in your sewer rates just to get you to the point where you're covering the costs coming online. For instance, next year we would have to cover the 16% from last year, plus about another 18% or so, for a total of 34% because of the sewer project that you're presently doing. And then the following year there'd be about another 16% increase required to meet the bond payments on the wastewater treatment plant upgrade. So I'm sorry that I have to bear this news to you and tell you about it, but it's better to know about it now and to start thinking of how to address it in the future. I did a couple of other runs. I could, what happened here? I did one that looked at a combination, which is the third sheet, of tax transfers and increases, and you'll notice that the sewer rate increase there on the third sheet, item number 3, talks about two 20% increases and then a 10% increase. So that's 50% over 3 years, which basically takes us from a sewer rate charge per month of about $27 presently up to about $40 3 or 4 years from now. That's what would be required to make that work. I'm not looking for you to take action tonight. I'd like you to think a little bit about what you would like to do with this. Questions?
So the 2020-10 any way that you could juggle those figures and put it over a longer span? But that would be kind of
Sure,
ill-advised?
we could do that, Robert, but what that would mean is that you'd have to take more general fund transfers to offset the shortfall. As I said, we lost about $54,000 last year. We're adding $33,000 this year. If you do anything less than 20%, you're going to have to put more than $40,000 in as a fund transfer just to meet that difference. So you could extend it out and ease the pain, if you will, but you're moving it from one pocket to another. You're taking it from the reduction in the sewer rate to a general tax transfer. You have to increase your tax levy to pay for that difference. And there's only so many sources of money, and you've got to kind of work through how you want to do it. You know, one way of looking at it is we haven't had a raise of the rate since 2006, and we've spent that intervening 4 or 5 years by the time we're done, basically paying off costs that have 5 years of inflation included in it. So we've been paying lower rates than we should have been paying by what was demanded by the costs that we were paying for labor and electricity and everything else. So one option, as you say, is to reduce the increases but increase the property taxes. Another option would be on page 2 where you grab the bull by the horns and do it, take the big pill first, so to speak.
I don't think people will like property tax increase.
Had they raised the rates the normal 3%, we'd be looking at 15% higher today than we were in 2006.
Yeah. You know, and the unfortunate thing is if you do it with your property taxes, then the fair share is not passed on to the village that way. You end up subsidizing the village too.
We don't want to subsidize.
We don't want to subsidize.